And welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own custom mountainous floating islands in Minecraft using World Edit and Voxel Sniper. So today the blocks we're going to be using go as follows. We're going to be using snow and ice for the tops of the mountains, then grass and coarse dirt, along with stone, andesite, cobblestone, and clay to kind of make up the mountains and the floating islands themselves. And we are going to need the items, the wooden axe, the gunpowder, and the arrow to use World Edit and Voxel Sniper. So we're going to start by doing the Voxel Sniper command /b/d1, and that's setting our brush type to the overlay command, which sets discs over the top of the ground with various heights and blocks depending on what we specify. So we're going to set the brush size to 5 and the voxel to stone. And what that's going to do is every time we click now, it's going to set a stone disc with a diameter of 5 blocks. So we're going to undo that really quick. So now what we're going to do for the mountain is, since the mountain's going to be a very large island, we're going to want to set the brush size to 7. And it's very important the shape that we do for these islands, and it's going to be almost a plus symbol in style, but we are going to round off the edges a little bit. There we go. So now we kind of get to the center of the island. We're just raising it up a little bit, and we almost want to branch it out to the sides here. That's going to make it look bigger than it really is, because that way if you're looking at it you see how wide it is, but the reality is it's really not as big because it kind of caves in on the sides, and that gives it some nice depth that we're really just forcing the perspective here. We're making it look bigger than it really is by doing this. And once we get these branches up here, we're going to break out the smooth brush to make this look a little bit less rough, because when we are working with a lot of overlays like this, it can look a little bit off at times. So now we're going to do /be smooth with a brush size of 10, and we're just going to spam this over everything that we've made here. Then we're going to go down to /b/d1 with a brush size of 5. And now what that's going to do is we're just going to make a much smaller tip here just for the top of the island here, and then we are going to set the brush size to 3 just to get a nice tip on the top of it here. And then we are going to use stone to make the top here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple more things like this, but they're going to be a lot smaller just to give this mountain a little bit more atmosphere. So with a brush size of 5, we're going to make a small little island here, and another 2 off to the sides here, and we'll go here. Then we're going to lower the brush size to 3 once we add a little bit more height to these. B3. There we go. And on to the last one. There we go. Then we're going to add the tops to these by hand like we always do. Fly over here. Ta-da. And last one. There we go. So now I'm hoping my server can handle this, but I'm going to copy and paste all these blocks and flip them over. So we're going to set our first region over on this side. Pause 1. We're going to fly up to the top here, make sure that we're above the height of this bigger mountain. We're going to set pause 2 over here, selecting the whole thing, pause 2. Then, as you'll see, when we did the smooth brush, it picked up a little bit of dirt and grass blocks, so we're just going to replace dirt with stone, /replace grass, stone. There we go, just making sure this full island stone, because that's the block type we want. Then we are going to do /copy. Then we're going to set this whole thing to air. And that might take a sec because we are working with a lot of blocks here. That really didn't take that long. Then we're going to look up into the sky and do /flip. Then we're going to paste it in -A because that gets rid of all the air blocks, and that will severely reduce the amount of blocks that we're pasting in, so it'll make it paste in faster. Now give it a sec, there we go, and I forgot to give myself night vision, which will get rid of the shadows, so really quickly I'm going to do \/ effect, watch Johnny, not \/ just \/ effect, watch Johnny, 16, 255, there we go. Now we have infinite night vision. That's just something I usually put on before the videos so that you can kind of see the fullness of the island without the lighting that goes into that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set the tops of these islands here, and we're going to stack them up one block higher than they usually are. \/ pause 1. And we're doing this just to give it a little bit more thickness. It would look a little awkward if this full island was just one block thick at the center, so we are trying to avoid that, which is easily solved by making it 2 blocks thick. So pause 2, stack, and there we go. So now we're going to move on to just finishing up the shape of these islands on the outside here. So we're going to do \b over d1 /b5, or let's see how big that brush is. Yeah, I think that's good here. So with a brush size of 5, just come along the side here. And then with a brush size of 3, kind of cap it off there. And then we will put in our top by hand. There we go. Take a step back. How does that look? I think that looks pretty good. So then we're going to come over to this side here. B5, brush size of 5. There we go. Kind of just making sure we get a nice peak shape going. Then B3, add the top, and then go in by hand. Then B5 once again, make the last peak here, B3, and there. And if you ever mess up, you can just do /U to fix your mistake. Now, last thing we're going to do is we're going to smooth out these blocks because they are on the top. So we're going to do /BE smooth with a brush size of 10. With the gunpowder, we're just going to spam this over these islands here, just to give them a nice, cleaner look. And since we did that, it did get rid of the top, so we are going to go ahead and put on a little bit of a topper once again. And there we go for that island. Onto this island here. Just add another top, and for the last one, just keeping it simple, just going to do a square. There we go. Now we have the shape for these islands. Now we just have to make the big boy the mountain himself. So we're going to start off by doing a brush size of 7 and really working, that was BE smooth, we didn't want that, so U. There we go, I like the way that looks. So /B over D1 /B7 /V stone. And then we're going to really focus on building up the center of the mountain here. And then as we get it taller, we can slowly branch it off to the sides like we talked about earlier. And just trying to keep this shape somewhat uniform going up. And then making sure we have a tall center on the side. There we go, that's looking good. Keep branching it out. And then branching it out to the last side here. This really takes time if you want it to look absolutely perfect. I'm rushing this for the sake of the video, trying to keep the video around 20 minutes, which I think is a good time for a tutorial on this sort of thing. But if you are making this for your own project, don't expect it to be going this fast. I am going about as fast as I can while trying to keep this still looking somewhat decent. So then put that up there, and then kind of finish the top. Then we're going to do /BE smooth with a brush size of 20, and we're going to spam this all over the place to clean it up so we can take a step back and see how the mountain is starting to take shape. So we're going to fly down here. Yeah, I really like this. I think this area here is a little too circular. We need to branch it out a bit on this side. And I like the way that side looks. So we're going to set our brush size to 5 /B over D1. And we're going to come across here just to kind of make that look a little less circular. Kind of come up here all the way. There we go. And we're going to branch this out a little bit more, kind of make that come up a little more gradual. Now with a brush size of 5, we're going to focus on making the peak of this mountain. And I think once we bring it up a little bit more, that should be good. Gotta add a little bit more of a sloping transition now that we've added a lot more height to this build. Gonna bring it down here. And once again, bring it down to this leg here. A little bit more slope there. And I think I'm gonna bring it up here. Yeah, I like the way that looks a lot. So now we're going to take one more step back and go ahead and smooth everything once again. So /BE smooth, /VB20. Then just spam over all of this. And there we are. I'm really liking the way this is starting to turn out. I do think that we need to touch up this side a little bit by hand, but overall I really like the total shape of this mountain. So I'm looking over here, and I don't like the way this came down and kind of has these nooks and crannies here. So we're just going to fill these in by hand really quick. If you're doing this on your own, you can spend hours and hours going over this by hand, making sure everything looks exactly the way you want it to. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So for the last touch, we're going to do B over D1 /B3, and just to add that last little peak to it. And there we go. I think this should be good. So /BE smooth, /B5, just to smooth over the very top of this mountain. And I am going to go in by hand and make it look a little bit more clean. But again, I'm going to try to limit how much of this I do edit by hand. Then we're just going to come across here and add a nice sloped, just a little bit more blunt top to it. Now we're going to take a step back and review. That is kind of annoying, but that's okay, we'll fix that momentarily. And there we have it. This is the general shape of our mountain. So what happens here is when you're building stuff up, you do make a mess on the ground, and it appears that this mess on the ground has molded itself into the bottom of our mountain, but that's okay. I'm just gonna set this whole area to air, and then we can go by hand and touch up the bottom there. So we're gonna fly over here, set pause 1. Expect some mistakes like this to happen when you're working with brushes. I forgot that since this is so low that this sort of thing would happen, but that's okay. It really just takes time and experience to figure out all the weird quirks of World Edit and Voxel Sniper, but I'm sure you guys will get used to it. So set air. May take a sec because we are working with a lot of blocks. I really hope that didn't just crash my server, but we'll sit here and wait for a little bit and hope that it worked. Did it work? And it appears that my server has crashed. So I'm gonna have to edit this out, but I will see you guys once I have this section of the mountain all fixed up. And I'm back. So unfortunately, after the crash, the last save file for the server wasn't till a couple minutes before it, so I actually had to go through and redo a lot of it, but this is what the islands are looking like right now. So the only things we have left to do is to overlay it with the grass and the coarse dirt, and then add the ice and snow on the top. So what we're going to start off by doing is /B over D3, or we'll do D2 /V grass /B10, and then we're going to take the arrow and then just start clicking all over the place here, just at kind of the level where we want the grass to slowly start to fade out. And we're going to kind of ignore the backside of this mountain just because it's so big, and I want, for the sake of time, I just need to do the front for this video. And then for these ones here, we just need to brush up the bottom part here, like so. There we go. And then onto the last island here. Then what we need to do is use the splatter brush, so it's /B space SB space MM, then VR stone /V sandstone, and we aren't going to leave it as sandstone. I just wanted a block different from dirt and stone that we can set to the coarse dirt. So with B5, we're going to go around and spam on the layers below the stone itself to just be sandstone, to give it a nice transition between the layers of dirt and the bottom of the islands themselves. And we're actually going to do the same thing for the top of the islands, so that there's a slow transition from the grass up into the stone in the top of the mountain. So now that we're done with this, I'm going to set the brush size to 3, and then we're going to add some dirt on the top here for coarse dirt. Same with the rest of these. And we are setting all of this sandstone to coarse dirt. There we go. Then add a little bit more on the top there, like so, and then just kind of spam around the area here with the coarse dirt and kind of mix it into the side of the faces of the stone as well. So once we have that done, we need to set the brush size to 5 because it looks like I forgot to do the second half of the bottom here. And there we go. I think that looks good. So now what we need to do is we need to set a region that covers this whole area. So we're going to come up to the top over here and set it above the top of the peak here. And we do need to be careful because we are working with a very large number of blocks here, and the server I'm running on works very well with World Edit and Voxel Sniper, but once you get to this mega scale, you do risk the crash. So it shouldn't be an issue because we are just replacing the sandstone, but if we were to try to copy and paste all of these, it wouldn't work out too well. So we're just going to do / replace sandstone 3:1. There we go. And I like the way that's starting to look. So now we need to put the clay block on the bottom here. So we're going to do /b /SBMM /VR stone /V clay with a brush size of 5. Or yeah, we'll do 5. And then we just spam it around the tip here. And then slowly start to integrate that up into the upper parts of the island itself. Then on to the last island here, and whatever we do to the big mountain in the center, we are going to mimic on these smaller other islands here. And now on to the snow. So what we're going to do is we're going to do /B/D2 once again /V snow _block and B5. So now when we press up here, we should get the snow starting to flow down the sides of the mountain, and making sure we have everything nice and even. There we go. I like the way this looks, and let's take a step back and see what the finished product looks like. There we go. I think we need a little bit more. Let's undo that on the sides here. And actually what we're going to do is we're just going to take it down the side, and what we can do here is we can set the first position up to the top, pause 1, and then we're going to fly down to whatever level we want the snow to stop at. So I think that this block right here is a good stopping point. So we're going to fly here and then fly to the other side so that we have the full region selected. And we are going to do /pause 2. And I did that backwards. So we want pause 2 here. Then we're going to set the first position lower than the snow, and then we're going to replace all the snow to replace snow to stone. Really? Snow _block. That's what we need. Snow _block. Enter. And there we go. I like that. Nice top of snow there, but we are going to do B/D1 once again with a smaller brush size of 3 with the snow block, just to kind of mix it up just a little bit to give it a little bit more of a nice transition, because we do want to keep it at least somewhat unique. Then put a little bit more down on this side here, and finishing touch, there we go, just to have a little bit of the snow branch off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the packed ice. So we're going to do /B /SBMM /VR snow. And once again, we're just going to use sandstone as a filler block for the time being, brush size of 5, and then we're going to spam VR stone, V sandstone, B, SP, MM, B5. There we go. And we're just going to spam this into the side of the mountain just to give it a little bit more color to the stone itself. And then we're going to come here, do backslash pause 1. Then we're going to fly up to the top and do backslash pause 2, backslash replace sandstone packed underscore ice. And let's see how that looks. And there we go. I really like the way this is turning out. This one block gap here is bugging me, so I'm quickly just going to fill that in. And finishing touch, we're just going to overlay the very tops of these little mountains here with just a little bit of snow. So we're going to do slash B over D1 slash V snow underscore block and a brush size of only 2, just so we can kind of get a little bit here. And we are going to just go in by hand and fix the little bit of snow that just went a little bit too far. Then press the middle again. Oh, we're using the wrong brush. That makes sense. Undo all that. Then fly back over here. We should have been using the arrow so that it integrates its way into the block instead of pressing it on top. So then on this one too, add a little bit more. There we go. And then on top of this one here as well. And that should do it. Now all we have to do is set this stone here to the other types of stone that we have planned. So it's going to be andesite, cobblestone, and stone. So we're just going to go through and carefully select the regions that we need. So we just want to come here. I'm not going to set the back half of that because I'm going to try to do this all in one go. And I really hope this doesn't crash, but we'll see. So we're going to set the second position all the way over here. Again, this is kind of dangerous because we are working with a large palette of blocks, but whatever. Then backslash pause 2, backslash replace 1 with 1, comma 1, colon 5, comma 4, and now we just hope that the 35,000 blocks that we just replaced doesn't crash my server, and it didn't appear to. And there we go. That looks great. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a splatter brush to add a little bit more snow in here. So we're going to do slash B space SBMM slash VR stone slash V snow underscore block, brush size of 5, and then spam this around in here to give it just a little bit nicer of a transition in. There we go. I like the way that looks. We're going to go a little heavier on the top here. Then a little bit on the side of these. And there we go. I think that should be good. Just replace some of that cobblestone. VR cobblestone slash V packed underscore ice. Is that a recognized block? Yes, it is. Then we can replace all the cobblestone in this area with packed ice. And there we go. I really like the way this turned out. Last thing we have to do is clean up the area down here, and we should be completely finished with this project. So backslash pause 1. Set all this snow to air really quick. Pause 2. Backslash set air. And we're done. So slash B over D1 slash V grass. V20. Quickly set all this back to grass. And last grass block placed, and we are now officially done with this project. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It kind of was a little bit more difficult just due to the size because it's harder for it to run on my server, but I do like the end product a lot. I hope this really helped you guys kind of grasp the idea and the concepts used to make a project like this, how to properly utilize the tools of World Edit and Voxel Sniper. And you don't just have to make mountains like this on floating islands, you can just make it on a flat world, but I like to spice things up a bit. We're about that here on this channel. And yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in this video, so thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.